Welcome back to Face to Face. I'm John Ralston. MGM Mirage is scaling back plans for the Harmon at CityCenter. The gaming giant made the announcement after an inspector uncovered construction flaws at the Harmon. How safe is it, and does the county need to beef up its inspection process? In a little while, we'll hear from the director of Clark County's Development Services. But first, joining me, Las Vegas Sun reporter Alexandra Berzon. We invited Southern Nevada Building and Trades Chief Steve Ross, but he said he was not available. We also invited MGM Mirage, but we're told no one was available. You get a theme here? Bob Hamrick, the broker of record on CityCenter, also refused to comment on the advice, he said, of MGM Mirage. Welcome back to the program, Alexandra. Appreciate you coming on. All right, you've written these stories about what happened here, which I think initially, like some of the stories you've written previously about lack of oversight, OSHA problems, et cetera, are going to worry people when they hear about this, especially when you look at this paragraph that you wrote about the mistakes found at the Harmon. Outside experts said that although mistakes on large construction sites are not uncommon, the size and scope of the Harmon's troubles and the decision by the owner to shorten the building as a result are. I mean, that is pretty scary stuff. These people you talk to say this is not a usual occurrence. It
certainly was. I mean, to have 15 floors where the rebar was faulty certainly is a very large mistake. I mean, I do think, though, that people will say that there are construction sites that have mistakes. Often they'll be fixed. I mean, because of the economic situation that we're in, I certainly think that plays a role in terms of this dramatic decision by MGM. But yeah, it's not reassuring. That's
yeah, Jim Merwin essentially had said, listen, they didn't plan for this, but they're going to use it essentially to cut the project short. Try to draw an analogy, though. As I said, people, when we've had you on before to talk about the state oversight. This is a county oversight issue, but it's a strange kind of beast, and we're going to ask Ron Lynn about this. That MGM essentially hires an outside consultant to inspect this. Is this a usual kind of thing that goes on? Have you found out anything about that?
You know, it actually is, and I think this really points the spotlight at this system that we have that I think a lot of people weren't that aware of, which is kind of this public-private system of inspections, and it actually is quite common throughout the country as far as I've been able to tell so far. And basically how it works is that you have these, the owner is required by the county to hire special inspectors to inspect the kind of specialized areas such as the rebar in this case. But the way it's supposed to work is that the specialized inspectors are supposed to be constantly there, constantly watching and signing off on everything that happens. And Mr. Lynn can talk more about this, but essentially then they're supposed to give that information to the county inspectors, these monitors, these spot checkers, and the spot checkers are supposed to be on the site, and they're supposed to oversee the work that these private inspectors hired by MGM or hired by the owner are doing. The thing is, if this system isn't working, then we have a problem.
But why does this system exist in the first place? Is it a resource issue? And I'll ask Ron Lynn about this here specifically, but in other areas. Is it because government just doesn't have the money? Because the other argument would be, and to some extent there's some cynicism with this argument, you can't have the fox guarding the hen house, right? You can't have the owner. If they're being paid by the owner, then they may be more likely to cut corners. Why is this system erected in the first place?
I mean, theoretically, you could. I've been talking to different people about this. You could make the argument that the owner also has an incentive, like the public, like the county, to want to ensure that that the contractor does the work correctly. But that doesn't always, as we've seen, with other situations here, that doesn't always work out that way. I think that, it's a question of resources. The county would argue, it's just not practical for us to have people watching every single thing that's happening on these really large construction sites. I mean, one question I've been asking, though, is, well, why not have if the owner is paying for these inspectors, could the owner just pay the county the same amount of money? The county hires the inspectors. There's arguments Mr. Lynn could tell you about why that wouldn't work. I'm sure. So it's definitely something that's been acted. This is an accepted system, it seems, in other places as well. So, but it's certainly something to look closely at. And if it's not working here, then it's something we need to address.
And of course, we probably shouldn't say that yet if it's not working. Right, we only know of one case so far, and I can ask Mr. Lynn if he's heard anything. Have you gotten any phone calls of tips, emails saying, wait a second, look into this, don't tell us anything specifically. We don't want to give it to any other media outlet, but have you been getting tips of, wait a second, you should check into this, similar kinds of things are going on elsewhere?
A little bit, but I don't have a sense that it's some kind of hugely widespread problem at this point.
All right, well, we know if you do find that out, we'll read about it in the Las Vegas Sun. Alexandra, thanks Thanks for coming on the
Thank
program
you.
again. And when we come back, we will talk to Ron Lynn. He's going to reassure all of us that everything's just fine everywhere in Clark County. Back in a moment.
You're watching Face to Face with John Ralston, a program presented in partnership with the Las Vegas Sun, Cox Communications, and KLAS TV.